where Tremont Mark played hero, knocking down fadeaway Jay with 1.1 seconds remaining to lift Texas to a 68-66 win and hold off a late NC State rally. The Longhorns will advance to the round of 64, but they're going to face AJ Dybantsa and BYU in Portland on Thursday. ESPN Analytics gives BYU a 63% chance to win. Compared to Texas, BYU ranks higher in BPI and in strength of schedule. Our coach, Seth Greenberg, here to join us for a little NCAA tournament conversation. Coach, which tournament will determine the number one pick? Will this tournament determine the number one overall pick? We've got Dybantsa, we've got some other guys in there. You were just at the Big 12 tournament. How do you see it?
This tournament will have no impact on who overall number one. These players have been scouted since they're sophomores in high school. Will it be a data point? Yes. Will the background check be an impact? Yes. But most importantly, it's going to be when the players sit down and go through their interviews, because their evaluations from their sophomore year to this point in their careers is basically cemented. They understand who they are and how they win and how these players impact winning. So what do you have to really look at? You got to look at the person. You got to look at their work ethic. You got to look at the love of their game. So the interviews, in terms of at the combine, huge, absolutely huge. The background checks, huge. These guys that are playing in the NCAA tournament, these games will have very little impact on who goes number one.
You're driving me nuts. I didn't know you was going to drive me nuts this early in the morning, Coach. You got to be kidding me. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not. Listen, if you got some no name that creeps up and it's either him or AJ Dybantsa or Darius Acuff Jr., I understand. But when you consider the parity that exists with the star power in the NCAA tournament, you got Boozer, you got Dybantsa, you got Peterson, you got Acuff Jr., you got Flemings, you got Caleb Wilson, even though he's hurt and he's not going to be participating in the tournament and stuff like that. You know what? How you perform in the tournament, don't tell me that doesn't matter, Coach. You trying to tell me, Coach, that if you see somebody and you know what, the game is on the line and they a little bit jittery and nervous and they wilt beneath the pressure and they a little bit scared, or it's a coach, and you'll appreciate this, Coach. Let's say, for example, it's a player, and he got an attitude, and he's not receptive to his teammates, and all of a sudden he's playing selfish hero ball, and he's not passing it, and he's got that kind of attitude. I'm saying, well, damn it, that's the NCAA tournament. A data point can develop in the NCAA tournament. That's my point to you, Coach. In other words, it's that close. The talent that exists is elite enough where we got to look for the intangibles. We got to look for the data points and say to ourselves, let's analyze that and see how that favors someone over the other, because because it's that close in terms of the mercurial talent that exists. Don't tell me that NCAA tournament, this can't potentially have an impact on how the draft lays out. Oh, I disagree with that, sir. I disagree with that.
Stephen A., I talk about data point. The most important data point, is that the most important one? No, it isn't. A guy doesn't play well in the NCAA tournament. Say he has a bad game, you're going to change your evaluation? No. You aren't. Like, Caleb Wilson's not even going to be in the NCAA tournament. And you know what? He might be the highest upside of any of these dudes. So we talk about, is the NCAA tournament going to have an impact? No, it's going to have an impact. But, yeah. First of all, for a guy, like, say, just outside of the lottery, can it maybe move him up into the lottery if someone has a breakout game? Sure, that could be an issue. But in terms of who's going to go number one, you got to decide. This is a huge investment. You've got to decide who you want to be the future face of your program. When you have a lottery, when you have the number one pick, the number two pick, the number three pick, you cannot miss. You cannot afford to miss. So is the NCAA tournament a data point? Yes. But it's the background. It's the interview. There are dossiers on these guys. They know who they hang out with. They understand what their DNA is. So, yeah, if a guy makes a big-time shot, sure, that's great. But then it's not going to really change if those other things don't align.
I did not say a big-time shot. I said somebody potentially choking, wilting beneath the pressure and stuff like that. You know there's a difference. You know I'm not talking about some shot. Don't reduce it to that, Coach. You know what I'm saying. You know, you got palms get sweaty, backsides get tight in certain situations. Some cats don't act right. You want to put them through that level of duress and strain and tenseness because you want to see what they made of. That's all I'm trying to say when it's this close, talent-wise. That's what I'm saying.
You two guys agree too much.
Let me ask Seth one thing. I think the one guy to me, if I was an organization that I would want to see how he responds, is the Kansas kid.
Darren Peterson.
He didn't play a lot. took himself out of game, in the layup line, doesn't play against Arizona, takes himself out. They load management for him and everything else. He had a disappointing year, and so did Kansas. I think for him, he's got to play some good game against St. John's if they play second round. I think a kid like him, he has a great tournament. I think it eliminates some of the things you didn't like with the red flags in the regular season. So let me hear your take on him. I think for him, it's a big deal. Let me hear your thoughts there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think if they can play St. John's, this matchup with Dylan Mitchell is going to be really interesting. I think the biggest thing for him is going to be his interview and his physical. That's going to impact where he goes in the draft. If he's going to be overall #1 pick in the draft, it's going to be his interview and it's going to be his physical. Someone's got to get to the bottom line of this alleged cramping issue. So, to me, his talent is undeniable. His shot making is undeniable. His feel for the game is undeniable. But availability is really important when you're the overall #1 pick. Right? You cannot miss. You need an everyday dude that's going to basically you can build your organization around. So I think the intangibles are more important with Darren Peterson than anything else. I would like to see him play well because if he plays well amongst this group, Kansas can make a deep run.
I'm definitely rooting for him because if Darren Peterson's watching, I want this brother to go out there and show us how all-world he is on the biggest stage. That's what I want because you know what? As great as he has been in moments this year, we haven't seen that from him consistently. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen somebody that we've been willing to say, over the course of 82 games for a regular season in the NBA, this could be the face of our franchise. We haven't seen that because we haven't seen somebody that has shown us he's willing to be that model of consistency work-wise. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about his talent. We know how great he is. We're talking about that commitment to excellence. See, when we talk about the great ones, whether it's the Kobes, the MJs, the LeBrons, and everybody in between, the Kevin Durants and all, we have to make sure we give credit where credit is due. And Steph Curry as well, is the models of consistency that they have been, that their work ethic is never questioned, that we know they putting in the time because they accept the fact that they're the marquee and they want to be great. It's not enough for them just to be all right. They want to be great. They accept the responsibility. That is what the face of a franchise is supposed to be made of, that kind of cloth. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're looking for.
All right, Coach, stick around. I'm going to need you to give Mad Dog's bracket a grade here in just a little bit.
Oh boy.
Straight ahead, do not look now. The Knicks are 1 game back on the Celtics for the 2 seed in the East. How concerned should Boston be? You're not going to want to miss Doggy's final 4 picks. It is anything but chalk. He's only got one #1 seed making it to Indianapolis.